Hey guys, and welcome to this video. This is built by Bands, and today we are going to be going through my heavy pull day complete workout guide. To start off, we're going to begin with deadlifts. My first set is always with one band down from where my true capacity is at. This way I get nice and warm, and I don't risk injury. While you're at it, make sure you've subscribed to my YouTube channel, and also check out, I have a podcast around fatherhood. Check out the links in my description as well as my page. With the deadlifts, be sure that you maintain good form. I do not do partial reps. I go until I feel I cannot do a full rep without risking injury. So I'm about to hit that point here, and I set it down. Set number 2, I try and increase the band, but I'm going to do less reps, but I go until I cannot continue any further. Continue to focus on your form, and I use an alternating grip just to ensure that I don't drop the bar. Today I was pretty happy because I actually hit a new PR on my deadlifts, getting over 10 reps on the Elite band. All right, set number 3 for heavy pull day. Back to deadlift. This is the final set just to ensure we've really hit our full capacity here and have really worked the primary muscle groups. As you tire, make sure you don't compromise your form because you can seriously risk injury with deadlift. Form is paramount. All right, deadlifts are done. Moving on to the bent over row. I do 2 sets. The first set with my hands as shown in the video here. And then the second set, I switch my grip around so that we do them differently. Each set is to failure, and I do partial reps. The key thing to note here with your bent rows is that depending on how you are doing the row, the position in which you pull towards is slightly different. So this is mimicking a pendulé row where my hands are over the bar as opposed to under it. I'm pulling closer to my rib cage, not quite to my belly button. Really squeeze your back and hold at the top for a second, especially on those last reps. All right, set number 2, I've switched my grip around. This is the underhand grip. This is going to work your biceps a little bit more, but still engages the back very heavily. The position you pull towards is closer to your belt line or your belly button. It'll be a little bit different for everyone, just depending on how tall you are and, body composition, things like that. But you want to pull more inward, make sure you're not scraping over your knees too hard, and really engage those lats. You should feel a different level of fatigue in a different area of the muscles in your back versus the previous set that I showed with the pendulé row style. All right, rows are done. It's time for everyone's favorite, the bicep curl. I do 2 sets with these to complete an absolute failure. With the first set, I have my hands a little bit wider apart, so I'm working different parts of the bicep. If you play around with different grips, you'll see what I mean in terms of where it's working your arms. Key thing here is to try and keep your elbows very locked to your sides. Make sure that you're not overextending to the top, pulling too high because then your skeleton takes the pressure off of the muscle. You want to make sure that you are constantly keeping your biceps under load, constant tension, constant work. Never go down too far and fully release. As these final reps get to this point, you're going to be exhausted, fatigued, really hard. You can squat down slightly and kind of cheat the rep up and then do essentially a negative. I highly recommend doing this. It's like doing partial reps, but it's a little bit more work for the biceps. Set number 2, you can see here I've now brought my grip in closer. There's no real right way or wrong way in terms of where you put your grip. Just be consistent and mix it up every now and then to work your arms a little bit different every time you do this. As you can see, I'm getting pretty fatigued here, so I'm really struggling. On these reps where you can barely get to the top, give it all you got, and then once you've burned out too much, go ahead and do these little half squats like I'm doing here. Pull the bar up, get under it, and then hold it at the top and slowly let it down. It's really going to get a lot more work out of your set. All right, curls are done. Now we are on to calf raises. I have these D-ring handles. They're pretty cheap. They're not very fancy, but they work. If you have the Harambe system handles, they're a lot better than what I have. However, any handle will work here. I prefer using handles over the bar as it's not scraping against my thighs. I feel like I have better balance holding it to my sides as opposed to in front of me like a rack pull. And it's just a personal preference thing. So there's no real right or wrong answer here. The key is to stay balanced, really extend those calves up, pause at the top, and make sure you're getting a lot of good work on your calf muscle. If you are bad with balance, be very careful, because if you are getting tired and you slip, you're going to launch the plate off the floor. Do not do that. It's better to just stop and do a second set if you have to, if you're losing balance. I just do one set of calves and I do one set of shrugs. Now we're on the shrugs. With these, I pull kind of in an up and backward motion to make sure that I'm really stressing the traps and shoulders. There's no real right way or wrong way to do these. The point is just to get a little bit extra work on our tops of our shoulders and trapezius muscles. Just play around with it. Be consistent. Make sure you're not clenching your teeth too hard. You don't want to go to the dentist. As I fatigue, I slow my reps down and pinch at the top to make sure that I'm really getting a good amount of work in. And it's pretty straightforward. Just keep doing it until you can't do it anymore. One set to failure. All right, moving on to the landmine row. I do 2 sets of these. It's a great feeling. It just kind of squeezes the back in a different way than some of the other rows. You need some handles for this. Here I'm using kind of a medium band. Play around with where you can do this. It's going to really depend on the strength of your back and being able to hold position. Your arms will feel a little bit of the burn, but you really should be feeling this in your back. It's 90% your back and 10% your arms. Nothing too special here, just go to failure. Nice, good control. I like to pull up quickly to get a little bit of the explosive force and then slowly hold it and slowly let it down. Here's set number 2 from a different angle. Nothing extra to add here, just go until you can't do anymore. You'll notice at the top of each rep, I'm pinching and holding for a second. That's intentional. You're really going to get a lot more value out of this lift if you pinch and hold. I do the same thing with my regular rows with the bar. All right, now we're on to the total bro lift here, the Arnold curl. This is just a little bit of a finishing exercise to get a real final good amount of work on your bicep. I generally position it next to my knee and use my knee as a guide. That way my arm isn't just flying all over the place. So I stabilize the outside of my elbow up against my knee and kind of thigh area there. But I'm making sure that I'm not using my leg to help me lift the tension. You want to really squeeze that bicep up towards your chest and shoulder area. And I just start with the one hand and then switch over to the other arm. This is a great one to do a lot of extra partials at the end as you really hit fatigue. I try to be slow and controlled and really get a good pinch at the top of each rep. And then again, hit those partials very hard. This is the final, working set you're going to be doing for this workout, so really give it all you got here. It may not look like much, but you are getting a lot of work here. If you haven't done this yet, go ahead and try it out at the end of your pull day. You'll see what I mean. All right, so the core workout is done. Now we're going to do some stability work. I think doing stability work is just as important as the actual lifts themselves, and I think it's over-neglected by people. So number 1 here is the pull-aparts. This is going to kind of help your shoulders and upper back area kind of undo that typical Western society hunch we all have from looking at our phones is sitting at desks too much. So this is just a nice little exercise. You can do this actually every day. It doesn't just have to be on pull day. You're not trying to build muscle with this one. It's simply just to kind of strengthen all those tiny muscles in our upper back to overcome that hunching structure that we typically have from looking down at phones and screens and stuff like that. It will get hard. Make sure that you're not using your arms to pull too hard and that you're really focusing on that mind-muscle connection with the muscles between your shoulder blades and your upper back. I just go till it burns pretty good and call it a day. Again, this is just a stability thing. You're not really trying to become, Macho Man Randy Savage with this exercise. Second set, I switched my grip a little bit. So on the first one, we were having an underhand grip pulling over our head and downwards. And this one is more directly across in a lateral position with my hands over the band. So sorry if you can't see it too great, but hands are positioned over the band. Similar fashion, you're focusing on squeezing in between the shoulder blades there. You can see my muscles working a little bit. Really focus on those and just pull it straight across. I don't double the band. You can play around with how hard it is. Just either pick a light band and double it, or a heavier one and single it, whatever. Just find one that's difficult but doable, and you want to be able to get at least like 15 reps with this just to get a good amount of stability work. As I fatigue really hard, I make sure that I slow down my reps at the end to make sure I get a nice pinch. And when I feel like I've kind of hit the wall, I just call it a day. All right, now these have no band requirements whatsoever. These are just body weight exercises. This first one is called the Founder Complex. This is kind of a yoga pose. This is extremely good for your hips and lower back area and building your posterior chain. I highly recommend doing this consistently, 2, 3, 4 times a week. You can do it pretty often. It really helps your spine and protect your spine from injury. This is something I've done for a long time to help with back injuries, and it definitely works. So the first position is with your hands down, as shown, and you hold that for about 30 seconds, and then slowly rotate your arms upwards in front of you, and you want to stretch as far out in front of you as you possibly can. Pretend you're trying to reach into the sky, and hold this for 30 seconds as well. When you complete, take a nice deep breath and exhale. Go down to your toes, and you're not stretching, you're kind of just resting here, but take very deep breaths, 2 deep breaths, very slow and controlled, as deep as you can get them, and slowly exhale. After the 2 deep breaths, bend your knees slightly more, and pull your hands up to your shins about halfway up your shin bone, and you're pulling backwards with your arms into your shin bone against your leg, and you're holding this for about 20 to 30 seconds in this position. And then you're going to stand up a little bit further and stretch your arms back out into the founder pose. That completes the founder complex. Now we're going to go into back extensions. Keep your feet planted on the floor and you're pulling upward with your back muscles. Slow and controlled. It's not a race. This is, again, stability work. This is just to strengthen your lower back and posterior chain. It's not really building muscle. It's just overall good for your health and to help you avoid injury in the future. Slow and controlled. I do 15 reps. When those are complete, squeeze your knees together and your heels together and lift your toes about 6 inches off the ground. You should be squeezing your knees together as hard as you possibly can, and you're going to really feel it in your lower back. This is called the adductor assisted back extension, and you're going to hold the position at the top for 20 to 30 seconds, depending on what you can do. And again, really pinch those knees together. This is a great exercise for strengthening that lower back. And that's it. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope this guide was helpful. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I will try and get back to you as quickly as possible. And again, the system I'm using is the Harambe system. I will put a link in the description. There are other band systems out there. I've made a guide on this. This is simply the one that I prefer and I think is the best on the market. Some stats about me. I am 5'9", about 170 pounds. I've used bands for 5 years exclusively. I do not lift weights due to injuries and injury prevention. Please do me a favor, like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and also do me a favor, check out my podcast channel. The link will also be in the description here. I'd really appreciate it. Throw me a like and a follow if you can. And as always, stay safe, work hard, and let's get it.